name is Jen Bryant, and I'm delighted that my book, Feed Your Mind, A Story of August Wilson, has been selected by Pennsylvania for the Library of Congress's Great Reads from Great Places. I want to tell you a little bit about the book and how I came to write it. Feed Your Mind is a picture book biography, beautifully illustrated by Candidate Chapman, and it's written in 2 acts, much as many of Mr. Wilson's plays were written in 2 acts, and it's also in free verse poetry. So it's a biography, it's illustrated, it's written in poetry, and it's written in 2 acts. So it reflects, I hope, some of Mr. Wilson's own marvelous work. It tells the story of Wilson's life, and August Wilson, until age 20, his birth name was Freddie Kittle. So Freddie grew up in the economically poor but culturally rich district of Pittsburgh, the Hill District, in the 1940s and 50s. So Freddie was biracial. His father was a white German baker who was not around very much. His mother, Daisy, was black and was a housekeeper and had to leave her own education far too early. And so what made sure that her own children, including Freddie, always had access to learning. She valued education. And at age 5, when she discovered that Freddie could read on his own, she took him down to the Hill District branch of the Carnegie Library and got him his own library card. And that would be a very important event in his own life. The library would become critical in his own learning.
How did you come up with the idea for the book?
Well, several years ago, I went to a local theater here outside of Philadelphia, near where I live, and saw one of Mr. Wilson's plays, 7 Guitars. And halfway through the play, I was just astonished by the poetic language, by the amazing setting of the whole play. Took place in the backyard of a house in the Hill District. And these actors were portraying characters that were ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. I had never heard nor seen anything like that, and I wanted to find out more about the man who wrote this play. I later saw Fences at the same theater, and again was astonished by the language and the mastery behind the playwriting. So who was August Wilson, I asked myself, and how did he come to write these amazing plays?
What is your favorite thing about this book?
August Wilson, who was born as Freddie Kittle, was bullied and harassed and threatened in school because of his race. He eventually dropped out altogether, just walked out of school at age 15. But he made a remarkable decision, and instead of doing so many of the more destructive things that a young man could have done at that point, he went to the library. So while his siblings went to school every day, he would walk to the Carnegie Library on his own, and he read the books there. He read the books, the literature by famous black writers. He read history, he read about all different kinds of subjects, and he finished his education there. And that's a remarkable decision, and it's absolutely my favorite thing about this book, because if I had made up a story in which a young man quits school at age 15 and makes that decision to take himself to the library and finish his education, and that same young man eventually changes his name, teaches himself how to write poetry and plays. Those plays later win Pulitzer Prizes. They're on Broadway. They're made into movies. No one would believe that story, but in fact it is the story of Freddie Kittle, later August Wilson, now the world famous playwright. And I found that remarkable, and that's what I really like to do as a biographer, is to find these stories that haven't been told for young people and to tell them in the best way that I can. That's really my whole purpose as a writer.
How does this book relate to your state?
I think Feed Your Mind is a great book to represent the state of Pennsylvania. Obviously the setting of August Wilson's plays, all but one of them are set in the Hill District of Pittsburgh. He is from our great state. I'm from the state of Pennsylvania. And I think the roots of this book and his life and my life very much reflect the diversity and the culture of Pennsylvania.
What is your favorite place to visit in your state?
My own favorite place to visit is now Pittsburgh. It's a city that's rich in history. It has a lot of sports and arts. It's a beautiful city with lots of bridges and 3 rivers. I learned an awful lot more about it in researching this book as well.
Tell us about your city or town.
I live in eastern Pennsylvania in a small town that is halfway between Philadelphia and Lancaster.
What is your favorite landmark?
My favorite landmark is actually a natural one. Many people will choose man-made landmarks as something that stands out to symbolize their area, but for me, the Brandywine River that flows near our home here is my favorite landmark. It is about 20 miles from where I live. It flows down into Delaware, and it supports all of our farmland and our woodlands, and it's very popular for painters, kayakers, canoers, and it's a great natural resource. So I'm very fond of the Brandywine River.
There are official state birds. There are official state trees. Is there an official state donut?
If I were to choose a donut for Pennsylvania, it would be the cruller. I don't know if you know what a cruller is, but it's sort of like a funnel cake. And funnel cakes originated here near where I live in Lancaster County. The German immigrants would make funnel cakes in their kitchens in the 1800s, and you can now see it at country fairs and carnivals, and a cruller is very much like that. So I'd have to say a cruller would be the state donut of Pennsylvania if we had one. So thank you for listening, and always remember to feed your mind.